Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday. It is the 12th day of July 2022. I hope this Tuesday morning finds you healthy and well, and your family healthy and well, and provided for and safe. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders who every day are trying to save lives, and those who pick up garbage to keep streets and sidewalks, parks, highways clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience, and double blessings on the men and women trying to help rescue, deliver the children and teenagers who are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of pornography, child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, sex slavery, human trafficking, and double curses on the perpetrators of these things, along with the perverts and those who are the profiteers in these evil businesses. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them. For theirs is the kingdom. It's real when you don't have a roof over your head. So there was a basketball game last night. Our Summer League New York Knicks played against the Summer League partner Trailblazers and lost the game 88-77. 88-77. And that alone, if you look at a score like that, that should tell you something right there. Number one, it was a defensive-oriented game. 88 points by the winner and 77 points from the loser, the Knicks. So it was a defensive-oriented game, and it was. And the second thing it should tell you is there was some offensive utility, and there was. And that, brethren, Knicks Nation, is something that you could expect from the Knicks, even the regular team going forward. As I mentioned to you, the defensive side of the basketball, when you have teams that focus on that, they generally start off slower in general. And I'm talking about the season to come. The defensive teams, as I said, you're going to see some low-scoring games. The only difference this year I'm expecting is the Knicks to win more of those low-scoring, close games early than they did last year. And the reason is because of Jalen Brunson being the starting point guard. But in terms of the Summer League last night, the Knicks had a total of 14 assists. That's not good. And the reason, if you watch the game, what you saw is guys trying to make the team and forcing things, offensively and taking bad shots in a lot of one-on-one. Particularly Trevor Keels was guilty of that. Montero was guilty of that. Jeffries was guilty of that. Even Grimes, did a little bit. Miles McBride, not so much. And we'll talk about McBride in a second. But there were too much one-on-one, not enough passing. And that's what sunk the Knicks last night offensively, in my view. I said, Keels was 3 of 10 from the field. He has not shot the ball well the entire summer league. Okay, he just hasn't. And the thing is, even though you're playing in an NBA summer league, you're not completely playing against the type of guys you're going to play against in the league. It's just a half step behind. And he having trouble shooting in summer league. Okay. So this is just a typical example of what I mean when I said Keels is a project that's going to need development. It's just as simple as that. He's a project that's going to need development. He's 18 years old. So because of his size, his body, the program he comes out of with Duke, and his age being 18, he's going to get the opportunity to be developed by the New York Knicks on the G League contract. It's very appropriate that he has the G League contract. Farron Hunt is really trying hard to make this team. And he's really you cannot, blame any lack of effort on his part. He's really trying hard, and he's playing hard on defense, and he's running the floor very well in the summer league. It's up to the coaching staff whether he makes the team or not. He's already signed to a two-way contract. And again, I just want to remind you guys, the two-way deal means 2 ways, which means you can come to the regular roster for 50 games, and you're going to be playing getting your reps in the G League. And that's the point, so that they can get reps and develop. And so you're hoping for that from Farron Hunt. I don't know if they're going to convert. I don't think they'll convert that contract. Honestly, I don't think they will to a regular contract yet. Okay, let's go back to Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims, who played almost 30 minutes last night, scored 6 points, 11 boards, 3 on the offensive end, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, which is not bad considering how much he's handling the ball in Summer League. And so with Jericho Sims, or you remember, he 58th overall pick last year. He was a G League contract last year. Played during the course of the season sparingly, and then at the end of the season, he started playing more minutes, right? And he showed that he was developing, and he ended up with a regular contract. And I think Farron Hunt would probably follow that pattern. They're going to keep him on the G League, let him develop. If he gets the opportunity to come up to the big time and in the major leagues and plays the type of defense, he's going to make his money defensively. And if he plays that type of defense and hustle, and then shows an improved, he doesn't have to be Steph Curry, but he shows an improved spot up shot, I think he could be all right for us, because what I like about him, again, is his hustle, his defense. And if you're running, he can run the floor, and finish. And so I like that. But I think they did the right thing with the 2 G League contracts. And then I mentioned Montero. Montero played 15 minutes, scored 4 points, 1 of 5. He looks to me overall like an NBA player. I mean overall, and that's saying something. Okay, I'm not saying he should be on the regular roster right now. He should get a G League contract with the Knicks. He should get a G League, not a 2-way contract, a G League contract. Let him develop in the G League. But he looks like he has the makings, the template, the body, the movement, the overall look of an NBA player. See, that's not everybody. Like, of the Ball brothers, Lonzo and LaMelo are NBA players. The other brother is not. D'Angelo is not an NBA player. And you can just see it. If you've seen enough NBA players play, you can just see some guys are just that. You could just know it. Montero's an NBA player. I can see him being an NBA player, but he's just not ready right now. He needs a G League contract. He needs to play a season for the Westchester Knicks in the G League, get more development. Remember, he's also 18 years old. I think, by the time he's 20, he could be all right. The problem for Montero is Roku Jokobitis. Remember him? Now, he's also a legit NBA player. Okay? And there's only but so many guard spots, on the Knicks. So that's going to be Montero's problem. What's going to happen with Jokobitis? And I don't know either. I know Jokobitis is not coming over this year, but I'm not forgetting Jokobitis. He could just come back next year. Who knows what kind of year he might have in Europe this year. So, that's for Montero, but that doesn't mean Montero can't play for another NBA team. Okay. Now let's talk about Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes, 9 of 17 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3, did not shoot the ball that well. He was being more aggressive. He was forcing a little too much to me in the Summer League. He scored 24. Again, very polished. He looks like a polished NBA player, playing against guys trying to become NBA players. And defense, of course, tight on his defense. What are you going to say? I think that's our starting 2 guard. Some of y'all not getting it. I know y'all Cam lovers are tripping. And now I understand what was going on Twitter. Nobody's dissing Cam Reddish. We drafted Quentin Grimes. He's been an established rotation guy for Tom Thibodeau. And in a meritocracy. What did I say? Meritocracy. It's Grimes' turn. Okay? That's how they do things in New York. You need to understand that. As I said, the cream always rises to the top. I want Cam to get good minutes at multiple positions for the Knicks because of his talent. And if he stays healthy, to me, his talent will dictate eventually what happens. Okay? Because it will be so clearly evident. All right? And so you want to let that happen. But to start him right off the bat, not in front of Grimes, that's not going to happen. Okay. And then those of you still thinking Evan Fournier is going to start. All right, let me just, because there's a lot of news out there, so let's catch up a little bit. Ian Begley reported. Let me start with that, okay? Ian Begley reported that the Knicks front office has concerns, listen, defensively, with a Jalen Brunson, Evan Fournier backcourt. Let me just repeat that. Ian Begley reported that the New York Knicks front office has concerns with an Evan Fournier, Jalen Brunson backcourt defensively. And that, this is what else he reported, there will be a change to the starting lineup because of that. Did you hear me? Some of you guys still pining thinking Fournier going to start. He is not going to start. Not this year. Okay? He's not. And they're not going to trade and get another two guard. They're looking to see if Quentin Grimes is that starter. That's what they're looking to see. Okay? So, even if Cam Reddish was to start, what would probably happen is he would start at the 3. And then you move RJ to the starting two guard. That's possible. But Fournier is not starting as the starting five. He is not, according to Ian Begley. Did you hear what I just said? Some of y'all ain't caught that yet. Okay, so Ian Begley reported that the Knicks front office has concerns with a Fournier-Brunson backcourt defensively. And we're talking about going back to Tom Thibodeau basics this year, which starts on the defensive end. This is not a guy. Last year was an anomaly. When I say an anomaly, it's not something you would see from Tom Thibodeau. This is not a situation where you put offensive players in it and you hope they pick it up on defense. That's not Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is you must play defense to play. Evan Fournier was the big contract they signed, which is why he got all that time. This is not going to happen this year. Okay? He's a great shooter. Evan Fournier has a great shooter, really high-level NBA shooter. But that's coming off the bench if he's going to be on the team. Okay? He's coming off the bench. And somebody said, well, for $17 million, you coming off the bench? Hey, listen, I ain't making that decision. I'm only telling you what was already reported. He's not starting. And that's why you see all those executives at the Summer League. They want to see Grimes' development. Can Grimes start in that position? That's what they're trying to see. I think he can. Okay, I think he can. And so we're going to see what happens. And some of you tried to say, because Evan made more money than Quentin Grimes, that they're going to automatically start Evan. It's the opposite. If you can trade away $17 million and create cap space and play $3 million at the same level, you play the $3 million. This is Grimes' second year, so you got 3 more years on a rookie deal. So if you could get high-level production out of a rookie deal for 3 years, that's what you do. Okay? Because then eventually you're going to have to pay him, but you get 3 years of production at that level, period. Then somebody tried to say they need to restructure Derrick Rose's deal. In the NBA, they do not restructure contracts. Okay, just to let you know, is a union. Just like there's in baseball and football, there's a players union. And one of the things they don't do, like they do in football, they do not restructure contracts. They're guaranteed, ironclad, done. Okay, unless there's a player or a team option, this contract is the contract. Okay, so, you cannot restructure Derrick Rose's $14 million. And that's not a guy, I don't believe you want to pay $14 million for a 15-minute a game guy. That's just me, though. So we're going to see what happens. Now, Miles McBride, Deuce. Deuce, to me, played Deuce basketball yesterday. He was definitely defense. Did he have any steals yesterday? He had 4 assists and 3 steals. Yeah, it looked like that. He was, he had 16 points, 6 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 8 from 3. He forced a couple, just like I was saying. He also forced a couple. The problem with Deuce, some of y'all are talking about, how he can't beat people off the dribble. If that was a problem, right? Like if he couldn't blow by somebody, they would overplay him. And if they overplay him, he will go by you. All right. That's, all right. Now, Can he go and dunk over people? I don't think so. But can he kill you in the mid-range? Yes, he can. Okay, and there's a lot of players like that. Really high-level players. So, my problem with Deuce yesterday was this. When they were out of control and not passing the basketball as a team, that's when your point guard settles everybody down and demands that they pass the basketball. That's what a leader does as the point guard. That was what was missing to me from Deuce. He should have demanded everybody, settle down. Let's get a good shot. Let's move the basketball. Because that would have gotten the flow back as far as ball movement. That's what you want from your point guard. To me, that's my biggest criticism of Deuce from yesterday. That's my biggest criticism. Because there was a lot of one-on-one basketball yesterday. And like I said, Quentin Grimes was guilty of it. Hunt, Keels, Montero, they were all guilty of it. And that's why they only had 14 assists yesterday. And that's why they only scored 77 points. And this is what, to me, Dice is, he's probably dealing with them on that. They got one more game. They got a game Thursday against Orlando, unless they, make a playoff, summer league playoff or whatever. But the regular game is the fourth one on Thursday against Orlando. But that's what I'm looking to see. I'm looking to see some ball movement improvement from the Knicks. Now, yesterday, it looks like they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that played 10 minutes or more. 6 guys that played 20 minutes or more. So they really shortened the rotation a little bit yesterday. I think they're just deciding to really focus on a couple of guys, see what they can get, like especially the big three like Jericho, Grimes, and Deuce. They want to see what they have, how far these guys are going, because they got to make decisions. Okay, this is what we were talking about yesterday. They got to make decisions about Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose. They got to make decisions about these guys. And so you want to see what you have in these young players before you go ahead and make these very important decisions. So we're going to see how this plays out. Like I said, there's more moves to be made. You're going to see another move after the summer league. I'm not saying it's going to be a blockbuster, but it's going to be a move concerning these gentlemen that we're talking about, Evan Fournier, Derrick Rose. You're going to see what's going to happen with one of those two guys, coming out of the summer league, because they want to see what they have with these 3 major players. And then, of course, I think we already know what we got with Keels. He's a project. He's going to be on a G League contract. I think the same can be said with Hunt. The only question is Montero, and I'm just thinking, again, they're going to sign him to a G League contract, not the 2-way contract like Hunt and Keels, but a G League contract, and he gets that year of development in the G League. And, maybe, he might become an NBA point guard. I think he has the makings of an NBA point guard, but he's going to need a little time. That's all. He's going to need a little time. That's what it is with a lot of these guys. They had Mark Jackson visit the broadcast booth yesterday, and they asked him about the Knicks, and he kind of smirked. And you know what his biggest criticism was? Did you hear it? He said they don't understand or follow process as far as the New York fan base. He was like, they don't understand or follow process. And then in the same breath, he turned around and talked about Portland being a possible playoff team. And and that's the thing. There's a perception about Knicks Nation and the Knicks that they don't follow the proper rebuilding process. There is a process. It's not rocket science. Again, just look at your Miamis, your San Antonios, your Oklahoma Cities, your teams that perennially are developing and end up going into the playoffs on a regular basis. They follow the rebuilding process. They do things the right way. They don't try to make shortcuts and go get NBA 2K trades to make themselves better right away. They build up from their draft and from their development program. And then as finishing touches, they'll bring in a dude to help them try to get over the top. That's how you do it. The Knicks are in that rebuilding mode. The thing is that what I saw when Mark said that was, with regard to Leon Rose, he's following process. Okay. He's committed. In the statements he's released, we already see that he's committed to developing young people that we have in our core of youth that we have. He's developing that. He's committed to that. He's so committed to it that he did not draft a first rounder this year, because he's still committed to the guys we have on our roster. He drafted a couple of projects. He got Keels and then he signs Hunt. He got a couple of projects because the young core that we have, and in this case in Summer League, is Grimes, Sims, Deuce. He's trying to see what he has, what he can develop with that. Okay, and that makes perfect sense. So he's following process. Who's not following process? The media. You got people always talking about, I wonder when they're going to do a blockbuster. The Knicks are not ready for a blockbuster. We're still developing our draft picks, the guys that we drafted. So when you hear people talk about, why we don't get a blockbuster done or it's time for a blockbuster, that's trying to skip steps. That's trying to skip process. Okay? And that's unfortunately the way the media looks at the Knicks. So if we're not trying to get a blockbuster, if we're trying to just develop the way the Oklahoma Cities, the Bostons, the Miamis, the San Antonio do, then we just stink, right? That's how the media looks at us. Then when we do a blockbuster, we're skipping steps. So we can't win with the media, ever. And that's why y'all got to really delegitimize some of these platforms you're listening to. Like I said, if it's not Ian Begley, if it's not Wojnarowski, if it's not Shams, it's not. Generally, it's not. And some of y'all are like, what about this guy? What about that? Some of these other guys come up with something sometimes, but they're not consistent enough for me. They come up with more rumors and smoke than actual fire. Okay. And so, these three guys are legit, but most of the media types are looking at the Knicks just like Mark Jackson said, well, they don't want to do process. They don't want to do the proper planning and development steps in New York. And that's the perception from a guy from New York. See that? So the NBA 2K, let's trade this one for these two and let's do this three-way trade and get this dude on the Knicks and we'll just be saved. No. Develop. Boring, slow, properly. And that's what Leon is doing. Okay. And I'm thankful for that because that's what he's doing. He's got his young kids. Now, you go through this season. Okay. Listen, we're not winning a championship this year, but you go through this season and you're looking for steps forward. What would that mean? A step. What does it look like? Steps forward means a playoff spot, anywhere from 6 to 8. That's a step forward, especially from last year. But over the last 2 seasons, if you do that this year with the kids, you get 6 to 8. Now you've developed the kids because if you're in the 6 to 8 seed in the East, that means you've done it with guys like Mitchell Robinson, R.J. Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Jalen Brunson, right? All right, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin. You've done it with a bunch of young players. And that means you've gotten development. That's the next step here. Okay. And if we could possibly, and this is a long shot, but if we could win our first round series against somebody, that's another step forward. That's what you're doing. Then the following year, not this season, but the following season, you see who wants to come to New York if there's a superstar available. Okay. And then you might trade some of these young assets to acquire that because now you're ready for the next step. But this year, no. We good. We just need to develop what we have and see what we got. Okay. So, that is why we're talking about the possibility of an Evan Fournier trade or a Derrick Rose trade. Because why? We're in the development stage. We're trying to get to that next step and we're trying to use the kids that we drafted to do that. Okay. Because if they do that with these kids, they show legit development. And now we'll get a clearer picture of what we actually have going forward. One of these kids, we don't know. They could develop and pop and be a real star. We don't even know yet. It's too early. Okay. It's too early to tell. Grimes is in his second year. RJ now is just 22. We just signed Mitchell Robinson, who's 24. We don't know what's going to happen. And last year, some of y'all forget with regard to Mitchell Robinson, there were a couple of games last year where he just dominated the game on the boards in such a way that he just won the game for us because he just was too much for the opposing team. Offensive boards, defensive boards, blocking shots. He was just too much. And if he could do that with no point guard, I want to see what happens with Jalen Brunson, with him. Because I think we might see some things from Mitch Rob this year. See? And so y'all forget he has had games where he's just taken over. He's had 20 rebound games. He's had 7 block games. And I'm, like I said, I'm very excited about that. Not to mention what we're seeing from Jericho Sims right now. Okay. And don't forget Isaiah Hartenstein. So, we're good at the 5. I want to see with the point guard now, because we got a legit point guard with Jalen Brunson. To me, we got a legit point guard with Emmanuel Quickley and Deuce McBride. We got legit point guards. So I want to see what happens when these guys start to run together every day, which they're doing in Las Vegas. You don't think that Emmanuel Quickley and Obi Toppin just hanging out in Las Vegas. You know they're working out. You don't think that Julius Randle just hanging out on the sideline so he can show us how slim he is. They're working out. They're out there working. Okay? And so they're going to continue to do that and get used to playing together more. I'm excited about the coming season. Okay? And I'm liking what the Summer League is showing us. Last night was a loss, but like I said, the 3 kids that were really trying to gauge what we got, we're seeing a nice picture of what we have. We got a nice development system going on with all 3 of them. And like I said, I'm looking at Quentin Grimes as a possible starter at the 2, unless they move RJ to the 2. That's the only way I don't see him starting at the 2. I see Quentin Grimes starting at the 2 unless RJ is moved back to the 2 and they either put Cam or Obi at the 3. And that's possible. But I don't think that's the starting lineup. I think the starting lineup is going to be RJ, Grimes, Jericho, Mitch Robb, Julius Randle, and then Jalen Brunson at the point. I think that's going to be your starters because of the meritocracy situation that Tom Thibodeau runs. You got to earn it, even though it's not always the case, but he does say that. So that's what I'm looking at. But we'll see. And either way, though, the Knicks going to be in good shape this year. I mean, just having the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands, I'm very happy with that. And that alone is going to change everything. And I'm expecting the next step in the maturation of RJ Barrett's game. He's made progress each and every season. It's just like if you watch him within the season, RJ usually starts slow. And then probably 30 games into the season, he kicks it into another gear, right? And then he just becomes really good by the end of the season. And so, but his career has been like that, starting slow. And then he goes forward going forward this past season. He took steps forward and I'm expecting him to continue to do that here at age 22. He's going to take another step forward this year. I'm expecting a lot from Mr. Rowan Barrett this year, all-star level play. So if we get that from him, man, we're going to be pretty good because the defense is returning. That's the whole point of the whole Evan Fournier to the bench thing. The defense is returning. We're going to get New York Knicks style defense. Okay. So that is our Summer League team plays Orlando on Thursday. We're going to hopefully see that game and we will be following closely our Summer League. And then, next week, you're going to see moves. Not next week. Once the Summer League is over. So we're talking about from July, let's say 20th. You're going to see some moves being made. And like I said, it's going to either involve Derrick Rose or Evan Fournier. But we're going to find out next week for sure. Okay. Meantime, enjoy your Tuesday of this week. Enjoy the Summer League with our Knicks. I'm excited for what we got going on, y'all. Shalom.